Sport Club Internacional is a Brazilian multisport club based in Porto Alegre, Rio Grande do Sul. Although they compete in a number of different sports, Internacional is mostly known for its association football team. Internacional plays in the Campeonato Gaúcho, the state of Rio Grande do Sul's Premier State League, as well as in the Campeonato Brasileiro Série A, the top tier of the Brazilian football league system. They play in red shirts and white shorts and socks, the first of which gave the team its nickname of Colorado. The team's home stadium, known as Beira Rio, was one of the 12 2014 FIFA World Cup venues and has a capacity of 50,128. The club is one of only 3 teams that has competed in all the Brazilian National League's First Division championships since its inception in 1971, and is one of the only 5 clubs to have never been relegated to the second division, along with Santos, São Paulo, Flamengo and Cruzeiro. Internacional is ranked first in Americas and 6th in the world in number of paying members, with more than 104,000. Internacional were South American champions in 2010, winning the second Copa Libertadores title. 2006 was the most successful year in Inter's history as they won the Copa Libertadores and the FIFA Club World Cup, defeating European champions Barcelona in the latter and South American reigning champions São Paulo in the former. Other international titles include the 2007 Recopa Sudamericana, the 2008 Copa Sudamericana and the 2011 Recopa Sudamericana. Internacional has a rivalry with Grêmio, also a club from Porto Alegre, and the two sides contest the Grenal derby, considered by many as the fiercest in-city football rivalry in Brazil. History. Foundation brothers Enrique, José and Luis Poppi, descendants of Italians, were responsible for founding Sport Club Internacional. The greatest difficulty encountered by the Pops when they moved from São Paulo to Porto Alegre in 1901 was finding a club that allowed them to play football. At the time there were only 2 clubs in the city, and both were private clubs for those of German ancestry. In 1909 the Pops convened a group of students and others from Porto Alegre to a meeting on April 4, 1909, at 141 Redenção Avenue with the objective of founding a new football club. Thus began the history of Sport Club Internacional. More than 40 people voted on the name of the club, which was chosen in honor of Sport Club Internacional. Another version for the club's name points to a tribute to Inter Milan, land of the fathers, since in those formative years of Brazilian football, clubs were usually identified with colonies of immigrants from certain ethnic groups or nationalities. The name Internacional was chosen to identify a club where all could play, regardless of origin, nationality or social status. The crest. The first crest of Sport Club Internacional was designed with the initials Psi in red over a white background, without the red contour that appeared shortly afterwards. In the 50s, the colors were inverted, the initials written in white over a red background. After the club won the Copa Libertadores, the emblem gained another star which is 50% bigger and is placed above the other 4, which represent the 3 Brazilian championships and the Brazilian Cup title. However, Inter won the FIFA Club World Cup that same year, and the star symbolizing the Copa Libertadores title was moved down between the 4 stars representing the club's national honors, and a new diamond star was placed above it to commemorate the world crown. After winning the Libertadores again in 2010, yet another star was added. Rolo Compressor. The steamroll of the 40s were remarkable for the Colorados. One of the greatest squads in the club's history was formed in that decade, which earned the nickname Rolo Compressor, Portuguese for steamroller. They were an extremely offensive team that played from 1939 to 1948 and won 8 Rio Grande do Sul championships. The reason for such superiority dated back to 1926, the year Inter started accepting black players in the squad, something that was not allowed by rivals Grêmio until 1952. That decision ended up strengthening the team, which placed no restrictions and always had the best players, and also gave birth to the affectionate nickname of the People's Club. The team included some of the greatest football players in the club's history. Alfio, Tesourinho, Abigail, Carlitos, Adrozinho, among others. The term Rolo Compressor was coined to represent Inter's power of crushing the opposition in their quest for victories. It showed the superiority of the team at the time. The club's growth. The end of the 40s marked the beginning of an era of growth for International. The club restored the Eucalyptos, their old stadium, to host 2 matches of the FIFA World Cup in 1950, Mexico vs Yugoslavia and Mexico vs Switzerland. On the pitch, Inter kept developing great players and provided most of the squad for the national team that won the 1956 Pan American Games in Mexico. The Brazilian Pan American Games squad played the first match on March 1, 1956, when they beat Chile 2-1. In the game against Costa Rica. Up to then the greatest surprise of the competition, Brazil demolished the opposition by 7-1, with goals scored by Larry, Chinesinho and Bodinho. The final was played against Argentina. A 2-2 draw meant the title of the Pan American Games Mexico 1956 for Tete's men on an unbeaten run. Back in Brazil, the players were visited in Rio de Janeiro by the Vice President of the Republic, João Goulart, and went to the Cartete Palace to receive the trophy from the hands of the President of the Republic, Juscelino Kubitschek. In the 60s, the Eucalyptos was becoming small for the large fan base. It was necessary to build a new stadium. Supporters mobilized and helped build Barra Rio by donating bricks, iron bars, and cement. 10 years of work elapsed until the new Colorado home was inaugurated on April 6, 1969. The ground's magnitude was reflected in its name, Gigante da Barra Rio. An era of titles. Perhaps no other time is remembered with more affection and longing by the International supporters than the victorious 70s. In that decade, Inter became the most successful club in Rio Grande do Sul and in Brazil. The new Barra Rio Stadium met the expectations of the fanatic crowd, and was the stage for some of the best years in International's history. In 1975, after a thrilling victory against Cruzeiro at Barra Rio, the Colorados secured the Brazilian championship title. The only goal of the match was scored by Chilean star defender Elias Figueroa. The first Golden Star was now on the chest of every Colorado. In 1976, International kept the victorious squad from the previous year and arrived at the top of Brazil's football from the second time. They won the title over Corinthians by winning the final match 2-0. Valdomiro was the man of the match and scored the decisive goal. The campaign in 1976 was remarkable. In 23 matches for the Brazilian Championship, Rubens Minelli's men won 19, drew 1 and lost just 3. The end of the decade was crowned with yet another great victory. Inter won the third Brazilian title in 1979 after beating Vasco da Gama 2-1. With 16 wins, the team did not suffer a single defeat during the championship, a deed yet unmatched by any other club in Brazil. With this victory, a third star was added over the club's emblem. The world meets Inter. In the 1980s, International enhanced its international stature, led by legends such as Falcao, Edivaldo and Batista. International reached the final of the Copa Libertadores in 1980, where they were grouped in Group 3 alongside compatriots Vasco da Gama and Venezuelan sides Deportivo Galicia and Deportivo Táchira. International finished first in the group with 4 wins, 1 tie and 1 loss. In the semi-finals stage, the Colorados were grouped with Argentine side VE Acute LZ Sarsfield and Colombian powerhouse América de Cali. Once again, Inter managed to top the group with 2 victories over Vélez and 2 draws against America. In the finals, International faced off against Nacional, who had already won the Copa Libertadores once in 1971. The Colorado couldn't break the Uruguayan backline, and the first leg, played at the Barra Rio, finished 0-0. At the Estadio Centenario in Montevideo, Inter were defeated 1-0. Despite losing International's most important match ever, it set a precedent of great moments to come in this decade, as the team went on to win the Campeonato Gaúcho 4 years in a row starting in 1981. International found itself as the base for the national team again, in 1984. The last time this has happened was in 1956, when 8 footballers out of the 22-player squad called up for the national team played for International. To represent Brazil in 1984 in Los Angeles, International had the whole squad called up. The 11 players, from the goalkeeper to the number 11, won the silver medal. The team became known as Seal Inter. After beating Italy and Germany, Brazil won the football silver medal, a deed repeated in 1988, when Inter players such as goalkeeper Tafarel, fullback Luis Carlos Wink and centre-back Aloisio defended the Brazilian colours. That same group would help International become runners-up in 1987 and 1988 in the Brazilian Championship. In 1987, Inter started off well after finishing the first phase in first place of the group with 4 wins, 2 ties and 2 defeats. In the semi-finals, the squad overcame Cruzeiro after a 0-1 victory at the Mineirão. However, in the finals, Inter lost the chance at a 4th title after being defeated by Flamengo, containing famous players as Zico, Bebeto, Jorginho, Leandro, Edinho, Leonardo, Andrade, Cicinho and Renato Gaucho. Once again in 1988, Inter found itself in the semi-finals, this time after finishing second in the group in the first phase. Inter faced a real battle against arch-rivals Grêmio. The semi-final of the Brazilian Championship meant not only a bye to the final match, but also a place in the Copa Libertadores. The encounter became known as the Grenal of the century. With just 10 players on the pitch, Inter ended the first half down 1-0. In the second half, pushed by a large crowd at Barra Rio, the Colorados came from behind to defeat Grêmio with 2 goals scored by striker Nilsson. In the final, Inter fell to Bahia after losing 2-1 away on the first leg and failing to capitalize at home with his 0-0 tie. In the 1989 Copa Libertadores, International started poorly. They managed to progress to the round of 16, but only after finishing third in the group, winning only 2 matches, drawing once and losing 3. However, that would change in the knockout stages as Inter defeated 5 times Libertadores winners Peñarol 1-2 in Montevideo and 6-2 in Porto Alegre. The quarter-finals saw the team face off against Brazilian champions Bahia in a rematch of the Brasileirão finals they disputed a few months earlier. This time, International beat Bahia 1-0 at home and ground out a 0-0 draw to progress to the semi-finals and exact revenge on the Tricolor de Acio. The semi-finals had International face-off against a tough opponent, Olimpia, who were the reigning champions of Paraguay. Olimpia, who were winners of the 1979 Copa Libertadores, were blossoming in the second golden era with players such as Ever Almeida, Gabriel Gonzalez, Adriano Samaniegard, and star Raul Vicente Amarilla, all coached by legend Luis Cubola. The first match took place in Asunción. Inter managed to win 0-1 and were full of confidence in the return leg back home. However, Olimpia managed a spirited comeback and won the return leg 2-3, silencing the Torcidas at the Barra Rio. Inter even had a penalty kick in the favor, which was failed to convert into goal. Since the aggregate was tied at 3-3, a penalty shootout ensued to decide the finalist, and Olimpia won 3-5, eliminating the Colorados. This elimination has been dubbed by fans as O Desastre de Barra Rio, the fourth star. In 1992, International won its fourth national title, the Brazilian Cup, against Fluminense. The first leg in Rio de Janeiro was a 2-1 defeat. The return leg before a packed Barra Rio saw the team coached by Antonio Lopes come back to win 1-0. The club secured the title with the away goals rule, Copa Libertadores, and afterwards, under the leadership of chairman Fernando Carvalho, Inter entered the new millennium seeking renewal from the youth teams. The club won 4 state titles in a row, from 2002 to 2005. The club modernized all its departments and prepared for a new football era. The South American Cup meant a return to the world stage and prepared the team for contesting the Copa Libertadores title. The campaign included 8 wins, 6 draws, and just 1 defeat to Ecuador's LDU Quito in the quarterfinals. To win the title, International had to move past 2 clubs that had won the tournament 3 times, Uruguay's Nacional and São Paulo, who were the defending champions. Against São Paulo, International arguably won the title away in the first leg, stunning the 80,000 São Paulinos attending the match at the Morumbi Stadium. Rafael Sabas scored twice in the second half before defender Ed Carlos scored for São Paulo. International needed just a draw in the second leg at home, and they left the pitch as South American champions for the first time. Striker Fernando, who, along with Tinga, scored in the final match at the Barra Rio Stadium, was one of the 14 players finishing as top scorer of the Libertadores, with 5 goals. He was voted man of the match against São Paulo and won a Toyota Corolla as the prize. Fernando put the car up for auction and gave the money to charity organizations. International competed in the 2006 FIFA Club World Cup and shocked the heavily favored European champions Barcelona with such stars as Ronaldinho and Deco 1-0 in the final for the first ever World Championship. They would also win the 2007 Recopa Sudamericana. Amidst all the victories in 2006, International had a bad start to the 2007 season, but to close this winning cycle with a triumph, Inter won the Recopa Sudamericana as they defeated Mexican club Pachuca with a final score of 5-2. In the first game in Mexico, the team had a good performance but was defeated 2-1. Alexandre Pato opened the scoring in the second match, supported by over 51,000 fans crammed into Barra Rio. Inter beat the opponent by a score of 4-0, the biggest win of the competition's history. 2 times champion, Inter's success culminates with the greatest prize. After the Recopa triumph, International struggled to refill the ranks left after the triumphant generation of 2006. The club finished in 11th place in the Serie A, which was barely enough to allow International to participate in the 2008 Copa Sudamericana. In 2008, International won the state championship and participated in a friendly tournament called Dubai Cup 2008. In the same year, International won the Copa Sudamericana, beating Argentine side Estudiantes de La Plata, becoming the first Brazilian winners of the trophy. International repeated the Copa Sudamericana title, finished in a much improved 6th place in the National League, retained the state title, reached the finals of the Copa do Brasil, and won the Suruga Bank tournament. On April 2, 2009, Inter launched its third uniform celebrating its centenary, with a golden shirt, red shorts and red socks. The golden shirt represented the glories won in their history. On August 2009, English club Tottenham Hotspur announced that a partnership was completed between the two clubs. The team performed extremely well on the 2009 Brazilian Championship, finishing as runners-up to Flamengo by 2 points. With this second place, International qualified to participate, once again, in the 2010 Copa Libertadores. International was the top seed of Group 5, which also contained Ecuador side Deportivo Quito and Emelec, as well as Cerro from Uruguay. International finished first in the group, winning the 3 home matches and tying their away games, no least thanks to figures such as Kaeli Acute Ber, Alexandro Giuliano and Argentine midfielder Andre D'Alessandro. This saw the Colorados face off against Argentine champions Banfield. The series finished in a tight 3-3 scoreline, with Kleber's away goal in Banfield enough to send them through to the quarterfinals. In that stage, International faced reigning champions Estudiantes in a rematch of the 2008 Copa Sudamericana finals. Despite dominating most of the first leg played in Porto Alegre, International only managed a 1-0 win. In Argentina, Estudiantes were winning 2-0 until the 88th minute, when Giuliano, International's star goal scorer, put the ball in the net to give into a much-needed goal and see them through to the semi-finals to meet São Paulo, in a rematch of the finals 4 years earlier. Again, International only managed a 1-0 win at home despite dominating the game, and in São Paulo Alexandro scored the decisive away goal that saw Inter go through to the third final ever of the competition. International won the second Copa Libertadores title after they defeated Guadalajara 1-2 in the first leg and 3-2 in the second leg to clinch a 5-3 aggregate win. This victory gave International the right to compete once again in the 2010 FIFA Club World Cup, with the goal of repeating the 2006 feat and becoming one of the very few Brazilian soccer clubs to have won the World Cup twice. However, they were this time eliminated in the semi-final by the Congolese side TP Mazembe, the African champions, in a 0-2 upset that completely stunned Brazilian soccer specialists and fans, and also most international soccer observers. Crests. Current squad. First team as of the 25th of July 2016. Note: flags indicate national team as defined under FIFA eligibility rules. Players may hold more than one non-FIFA nationality. Out on loan. Note: flags indicate national team as defined under FIFA eligibility rules. Players may hold more than one non-FIFA nationality. Coaching staff: coach, Falco. Assistant coach, Lemir de Souza, Fabio Marino, Oder Hellman. Goalkeeping coach, Marquinhos Lopes. Fitness coach, Cristiano Nunes. Fitness coach coordinator, Elio Caravetta. Assistant fitness coach, Marcelo Cairol, João Goulet. Club doctors, Paulo Rebelo, Carlos Poisel, Guilherme Caputo, Mateus Falco. Physiologist, Luiz Crescente. Physiotherapists, Guilherme Bergamo, Marcelo Mutuberia, Moro Matos. Masseurs, Bana Juarez Quintanilla. Executive manager, Jorge Macedo. Players' statistics, notable coaches, honors. International FIFA Club World Cup 2006, Copa Libertadores 2006, 2010, Copa Sudamericana 2008, Recopa Sudamericana 2007, 2011, Suruga Bank Championship 2009. National Campeonato Brasileiro Série A 1975, 1976, 1979. Copa do Brasil 1992. Regional Campeonato Gaúcho 1927, 1934, 1940, 1941, 1942, 1943, 1944, 1945, 1947, 1948, 1950, 1951, 1952, 1953, 1955, 1961, 1969, 1970, 1971, 1972, 1973, 1974, 1975, 1976, 1978, 1981, 1982, 1983, 1984, 1991, 1992, 1994, 1997, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2008, 2009, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016. Copa FGF 2009, 2010, Copa Governador do Estado 1978, 1991, Recopa Gaúcha 2016, Friendly Torneo Vina del Mar 1978, 2001, Joan Gamper Trophy 1982, Torneo Costa do Sol 1983, Torneo Costa do Pacifico 1983, Kirin Cup 1984, Rangers International Tournament 1987, Waco Denki Cup 1992, Dubai Cup